What's up, Bulls fans, and welcome to Top of the Order, a Bruin at McEwen production. I am your host for this evening, Adam Cartwright, and with me is my co-host, as always, Matthew Giardino. Matthew, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing pretty awesome, especially coming on after the result after this past weekend. Really exciting time to be a USF baseball fan. Really good to see the sweep this weekend. So really excited to get into the show.
Absolutely, and hey, how about the birthday luck you brought? Right, one week since your birthday, we were recording last, and had some great results. But as you talked about, we are going to recap last week. We are then going to talk about some conference stuff. We're going to have a little fun with some games, pick them that me and Matt will kind of go through. We've got a midweek game coming up, actually, our first midweek where we actually have a previous midweek this season to look at. So that'll be a little interesting. We're going to finish it off with Name That Bull. And so, like I said, we've got a packed show and we're going to get straight into it. Fantastic weekend for the Bulls. Conference series sweeps, you can't ever take those for granted. But on top of that, this happened against the team that was coming in top of the conference. And so there's a lot of confidence coming with that, Matt. And started off with a 7-3 victory for the Bulls. Hunter Mink, another stellar performance. Tell us what you thought.
Yeah, just like you said, Hunter Mink with the following up his last week's performance with another really great outing. That game was really interesting. It was a pitcher's duel for most of the game, and a lot of the scoring came towards the later part of the game. Finally, we broke through in the seventh inning and got 3 runs. Crooked number never hurts, and ultimately the Bulls were able to capitalize and win 7-3 on that game.
Absolutely. Like you said, Mink, 8 innings, 9 strikeouts, only allowed 3 runs, uh, and would just, did everything a Friday night starter needs to do to put your team not only in a position to win that game, but like Coach Mole talked about setting the tone for a series. He put his team in a great position to do well in the series, and we all saw how that worked out. On the hitting side, like you said, it did take a little bit to kind of break open, but since the second inning, Hunter was pitching with a lead, and so the offense was kind of staying in there until, like you said, they broke it open. Rosenblum with a big home run, extra base hits from Brutcher, Monkey, and Brodil. Uh, we talked about it last week. I think further solidified it this week. I think Brodil is going to be the left fielder that I don't think we're going to see um, him come out of there. We talked about what those implications can be. But again, a great night offensively, great night on the mound, just a great night overall. Don't think.
Yeah, and shout out to Ben. He had a big weekend. Obviously, the big home run on Friday night, but really that was just the start of a really strong performance for him this weekend. And the senior leadership that he brings to the table, I think that's going to really benefit the Bulls as we continue on the rest of the conference play.
Absolutely. And like you said, multi-hit games, will run through them. There was a lot. Brutcher, Rosenblum, Monkey had 3 hits. Matt Rose had 3 hits. Brodil had 2 hits. Just really a great way to start it off. And again, that led us into a pretty great Saturday. Well, we got the win in the end. Almost got away from us. But again, another great start from Jack Siebert. What were your thoughts on the Saturday?
Yeah, it was Saturday. It was a really, it was a game where the end score seemed a lot closer than it was the entire game. Ultimately, there was some plays in the field that ended up costing us to, make it a lot closer, but overall it was a really complete game. And as I watched that game in person, felt like one of the most complete games that we've had all year. Jack really had a strong outing, went deep into the ball game. All we ever asked for from our starters. You really can't ask for more for our pitchers in that particular game.
Absolutely not. He went 7 innings, struck out 6, only allowed 2 as they scattered 7 hits. But again, we're talking about Saturday now. We've got 15 innings pitched out of our starters. I think we talked about in our one of our private chats. If we get over what was it, like 14 and a half innings pitched out of our starters, we'll probably be pretty good. And we're getting that on Saturday. And again, we see how this series, worked out for us. And so again, great start by Jack. to back up the great start by Mink. He's 4-2 on the season now, and so if he really gets hot, he has a chance to really check some boxes off when it comes to those postseason accolades, especially if he really gets as good as we think he can get. But hey, another Wichita State game and another Ben Rosenblum home run. He got another one on Saturday. Brutcher got another extra base hit with the triple. Montez Brodil both added to the extra base hits. 11 hits overall. Only managed to leave 8 on base. We talked about that being a little bit of a struggle, but man, offense is clicking, huh?
Yeah, and I can't tell you how timely that home run was, especially, it felt like it was getting a little closer, and ultimately that home run was the home run that sealed the game for us. And it was a big spot and gave us a cushion. It was really cool seeing Ben around the bases. He pointed at the fans, and I was there hanging out with the SoFlo Rodeo, and as he rounded third base, he pointed at us, and it was a really cool moment for all of us.
Absolutely. Well, you brought them up, so let's go ahead and give them their flowers. The SoFlo Rodeo was there on Saturday. You mentioned you sat with them. Talk about that atmosphere overall.
Yeah, it was really cool, and a lot of them never had been to a baseball game or don't go very often. And it's funny they picked up on things really quickly, and I think we did a good job of getting into the opposing pitcher's head. It's funny we actually heard from the dugout. They were calling him a nickname, and we actually ended up using it against their starting pitcher, which was really funny. So it was really a good time, and I fully expect them to come back to more games and create that home field advantage that we've been trying to do for a while.
Awesome. Well, we absolutely need them to come back. At, Again, just a great atmosphere created. I will say they did get some airtime on the ESPN broadcast, so they were creating enough of a ruckus there to get some attention. And so absolutely, we're going to need them to come back. Uh, Finally, on Sunday, we managed to get the sweep. Didn't really go the way the first 2 games went. We needed some extra innings, but in the end, we got it done. Pitching, did a fantastic job, only allowing 2 runs. Lawson Gailey gave us a great start, 4.1 innings pitched, which really for a Sunday, that's good. If he manages to get that up to 5 and 6, we're going to be. I mean, if we get holy cow, if we get 8, 7, and then 6 out of our 3 starters, the bullpen's going to feel like they're on a vacation. But
Yeah, there's really not too many college teams out there that I think are averaging over 20 innings a start for the weekend. So if we can get there, that'd be incredible.
that's absolutely right. Um, like you said, hitting, we were still hitting the ball. The problem was that horrid LOB number left on base. We left 12 of our hitters out there, and to their credit, they managed to not walk as many. But again, 5 walks. It just the whole problems with the offense kind of crept up on us. We're still hitting. We're just sometimes it just kind of becomes a struggle for us to get them all the way over.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to, do with Eric Snow coming back from injury. Even Rafael Betancourt, he's still coming back, probably a little sore still. One thing I do want to point out too is just the fact that we saw Bobby Bozer out there, which was a really good sign to see and a good sign of his progression from his injury. But that's kind of a sidebar. But overall, I agree. We still need to do a better job in terms of getting those guys across home plate, leaving guys on base. But overall, I think the storyline on Sunday was just the timely hitting. We got the big 2 RBI base hit to tie the game. And then ultimately, we played some small ball towards the end of the game and got a suicide squeeze or safety squeeze bunt to win the game, which was really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it was a safety squeeze, and I think everybody was on board with that. I just don't know. I believe it was Puckett was the runner, correct? Am I?
Yeah, he was.
I don't like. Maybe his definition of safety for me is different because I'm going to tell you when I looked at that video on Twitter, I believe it was posted by one of our players' parents or at least a family member of. And it's got that angle where it's looking right at him, man. And I kind of broke it down and slowed it down. And when I looked at it, man,
He
Puckett,
got to home quick.
Puckett is in a full-on sprint before the ball is out of the pitcher's hand. So I mean,
Yeah.
if it was safety, he was going to be in. I'm going all out and just going to have to lock the brakes up because there was no like, oh, let me check this out, man. No, he was. He might have been stealing home if he bunted through it. To be honest with you, um, but it was a great play by Robertson. Great play by Puckett. Like you said, he got there quick, got the job done. Um,
Then
got
also
the
one
read, you know.
Yeah, and one other thing I want to point out too about the game on Sunday is Eric Snow. He dropped a little bit in the batting order, but he was able to collect 2 hits on Sunday, so that could be a potential thing to look out for, and seeing him making a comeback, especially now that he'll be in the lineup every day again.
Absolutely, that's something every Bulls fan wants to see. All right, well, our stars of the week, we're going to send out our congratulations to Matt Rose. He was named the AAC honor roll, hit 583 on the series, 3 runs, 2 RBIs. He had an on base percentage of over 600. Just a great week. And, he's an interesting one because, we talked about it when guys get healthy, Coach Mole's going to have to make some decisions. Well, I mean, Matt Rose has a weekend like that. Uh, just makes all these decisions, that much harder. Good hard decisions. But again, man, we're gonna have guys that can hit that are gonna have to sit the bench, and we might see a rotation in some spots. But man, just great weekend by him. Um, yeah, starting pitching went 19.1 with 16 Ks, 2 wins. Puckett coming back on Sunday had a great Sunday, ended up scoring that run again, kind of playing into that issue where Coach Mole's going to have some problems. And big shout out to Big Ben Rosenblum for his performances on those home runs. What were your thoughts on those guys?
Yeah, I think the guys that really stand out to me is Stuart Puckett. You got a little bit sick, especially I think it was last weekend, and then he got back into the lineup on Sunday, and he kind of just picked up exactly where he left off, scorching some balls out there, and scored the game-winning run. And then Ben, those 2 home runs, they were pretty much the difference in those games. Really, really crucial hitting from him, and big time home runs. So overall, those 2 guys really stand out to me. And then, of course, everyone recognizes what Matt Rose has been doing, getting the honors for the conference. Really exciting for him to see that.
Absolutely. I feel like every week we're getting somebody on that honor roll or player of the week list. And it's a different person, and that
Hmm.
speaks a lot because I mean that means we're getting contributions in this case, up and down the lineup and up and down the lineup and down the bench, that we're getting contributions from guys that are getting recognized. That's fantastic to see.
Yeah,
Speak. Go ahead.
I will say I think that this current roster has probably more Pro Bowls on it in terms of guys that are fielders, not necessarily pitchers, but we got some great pitchers too. But it's been a while since we've gotten a good amount of everyday guys in the field getting drafted and getting pro opportunities, and I definitely see that opportunity for a lot of guys that are producing for us right now.
Absolutely, I agree. I think it's something that's going to be something to watch as these guys progress. As they're also kind of young, you know. Um,
Mhm.
But speaking of conference, we'll look at the conference standings now. A little surprise for me, UTSA sitting at the top. I think they played a lot better in conference than maybe they did out of conference. You know, East Carolina right there second, South Florida right there, us right in that third. I think that's the mix I expected, us to be in right there in that top three, and we're second here, 1 game out of everything. So really another good series and some good things happened. We could see ourselves sitting atop this thing, when we talk next. What do you look at when you see this?
Yeah, I think there was a couple of interesting series this weekend, especially the ECU versus FAU series. I think it went about as planned. I did see that FAU was very competitive in all 3 games. So that was a little bit of a surprise. Maybe the score at the end of the day didn't necessarily reflect that, but they were very competitive in their series. And then overall, I think one thing that's interesting, and I might be getting a little far ahead of myself here, but our next 2 opponents, they're combined 4 and 14 overall in conference. So think the Bulls have a great opportunity in the next few weekends in conference play to really steady themselves as one of the top teams in the conference, just as we're kind of expecting them to do, but I think they're going to have that opportunity.
Absolutely. I look at it and I see, really a series, right? 3 games is what separates 1 through 7 right now. So we're seeing a lot of parity, seeing a lot of things bunched up. I think, in the next couple weeks, we're going to see maybe some separation by a couple of teams and maybe some stuff will shape out a little bit more. Like you said, though, we are in a great position to put ourselves in a driver's seat to really, put ourselves up on that pedestal. I think we're going to see 3 teams really separate themselves in this conference, and I think we're in a position to be one of those 3 here over the next 14 days. We'll have to see how that shapes out, and really we'll have an entire weekend now to see how it's all going to shape out. We're going to look at that right now and have a little fun, Bulls fans. Me and Matt are going to play a little pick 'em. Feel free to play along at home if you want to comment your picks, and if you comment them, we'll track them. We'll put you on the scoreboard, and we'll go from there. But we're going to do ours here. Looking at our first one, East Carolina, Charlotte. Matt, I will give you the first honors. You can pick this one first.
All right, I feel pretty good about ECU going for the sweep at home. They always play really well at home, always have a really great environment. Their fans are well aware of, how good of a team they have and don't expect anything less out of them. So I have ECU sweeping that series.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you there. East Carolina, they're playing like a very top team, uh, and again, I think they stumbled a little bit, but sometimes that happens. I don't think they're going to stumble in Greenville this weekend. I think they're going to roll. Leading into the next one, Memphis and UTSA. We just looked at it in the standings. I'm going to roll with UTSA right here. They're playing some really good baseball right now. Memphis, I'm not so sold on. What's your pick in that one?
I think UTSA will win that series, but I do think that Memphis will take a game. UTSA 2-1 for the series. Memphis is coming off a weekend sweep. I believe it was, or was it a sweep? I think it was a weekend sweep more recently against Rice. Um, so I think that they got a lot of talent on that roster, and especially it being at home, I think they can pull off a win.
Absolutely. All right, our next game is going to be Wichita State at Florida Atlantic. I'm going to let you take this one first.
I think this one's going to be really interesting. 2 teams that are, separated by a game. FAU's 5-4 in conference. Wichita State is now 6-3. I think, it's going to be really interesting. Actually, no, they're tied 5-4 and 5-4. So, that's going to be a really competitive series. I give the advantage to Wichita State, especially coming off a series which they got swept. I think they're going to have a lot of fire in them and come back to where they were earlier in the season.
Man, I'm telling you, the listeners are probably going to think we coordinated this, man. So I'm going to have to agree with you there too. I think, I agree with you that getting swept, there's kind of that backlash, if you will, where I think they're going to come out and play pretty well. But another thing I'm looking at is they're a much better team at home, 13-5 at home, 6-8 on the road. Same thing for Florida Atlantic, 15-6 at home, but they're going to have to be on the road with a 3-5, and that's kind of a thing for Florida teams too. We might see this, as we travel out of state, we play a lot of home games in the beginning of the year, and we get really used to Florida. Sometimes you go into an environment that ain't Florida, it's not all that great, right?
I
So
can't imagine the weather in Wichita is too warm right now.
I can't either, right? And so again, I'm going to go with Wichita for that reason, and which is going to lead us into our final matchup of the weekend, Rice versus UAB. I'll let you take this one as well.
Yeah, it's a couple of teams that are really struggling this year, and I don't think they really thought coming into the season that they would struggle to the point that they have. But overall, I think that UAB will pull off the series win. I do think that Rice will get their second conference win of the season. But yeah, that's my pick.
Yeah, that's a good pick. And I feel like UAB maybe I talked about this in a few episodes back, but when ECU was beaten by UTSA, I said, UAB might be in a position to really get socked to the bottom here because they're going to catch a really upset ECU coming off a series loss of their own, and it's really going to set them behind the eight ball. And I think that's where they're at right now, and they haven't really dug their way out of it. Um, and like you said, Rice isn't doing that well either. However, I think Rice is actually going to take this series. And again, it comes down to that home and away split. Rice seems to play the same, whether they're home or away. UAB, it's a little different, right? 3-8 on the road, 11-9 at home. So I'm gonna go with Rice in this one. So look at there, we got a little difference. We're gonna get a difference in scores. Again, guys, if you're listening, play at home. Let us know what your picks are. And we got another little fun game here. And if you have some ideas you want to throw in the comments, we're all about that as well. But this is going to be over-unders. We're going to pick some numbers and some overs and some unders we think we're going to see in this upcoming weekend. And Matt, I'll let you go ahead and start.
So my over/under for the weekend is going to be Hunter Mink to record either over or under 6.5 strikeouts for his starts. He's consistently been getting around 6. Some starts he'll go under, sometimes he'll go over. In this case, I think that he's going to be going over 6.5.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think you're onto something there as well. I'm going to look over on the other side. I'm going to hit the batting order. I think Drew Butcher is actually getting better somehow. But I think he's going to go over 3.5 hits on the series. I think he's going to get more than one per game. He had 2 multi-hit games over the last weekend series. I think what you saw from him maybe a few series back, maybe had some bad strikeouts. I think you saw him maybe fall too into the patience kind of wall there. Maybe he was getting too patient. I think you saw over this past weekend, he said, no, I'm going to go back to doing what I do well, which is also swing this bat. So you didn't see any walks this weekend, but you did see a lot of hits. You did see him, he's seeing the ball well. So I think that's going to carry over. I think he's going to be aggressive in times here.
And it's funny you mentioned that too, because I believe it was the Sunday game. He was coming into his last at bat 0 for 4, and I told Mark, I was like, there's no way a player like Drew is about to go 0 and 5 right here. So sure enough, he gets the game tying hit, and now it was exactly Drew Butcher.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we do have a midweek game coming up against Bethune-Cookman. We are gonna move a little quick, but we do have a matchup to look at. It was a 6-5 victory for the Bulls. We had to pull it out in the ninth. We'll look real quick at this box score. I'll tell you what I remember is we had a lot of stolen bases. Ben with 3, Monkey with 1, Puckett with 1, Snow with 1. So again, we were running on them all night. We were also hitting the ball well. What did you think?
Yeah, so the thing I remember is it was a really close game, and typically for those types of games, playing maybe low major schools, you don't typically expect to sweat them out as much as we did in that game. But yeah, there was a couple of good performances out there from guys that are still in the lineup right now. Drew Butcher, he had a couple of base hits, and Ben had a couple of base hits as well. Yeah, I thought it was a really, really interesting game, and I'm looking forward to the matchup, the rematchup actually.
Absolutely. And we're going to hope we get to see our old buddy Dylan Vega, as we didn't get to see him in the first matchup. Maybe we'll get to see him this time. Definitely going to hope we get a big win in the midweek to lead us into our 2-lane series. Well, I'm going to have to move us into Name That Bull. If you were following along last week, our answer was James Rowe, who is our current defensive pass game coordinator and safeties coach. So that was good. He again moved into the football side of things, actually played baseball for the Bulls, and that was fantastic. For this week, the clue is going to come from me. I will do this now. Again, 3 clues. And here's the first one. He graduated magna cum laude with a degree in biomedical sciences. While doing that, he made 162 starts for the Bulls in the outfield with a career average of 291 and made 7 appearances on the mound with a career ERA of 2.284 or 2.84. Sorry. Third clue, he was selected by the Minnesota Twins out of Bishop Moore High School before choosing to attend USF. We will ask you, Bulls fans, who is this Bull? And again, let us know in the comments. Well, that is going to lead us into the wrap up of the show. Again, guys, we'll see you at the Red Tuesday night or tonight, depending on when you're listening to this, for our midweek matchup with Bethune-Cookman. Bulls are on the road in New Orleans to take on Tulane. Catch us on Friday or Thursday night or Friday with Thirsty Thursdays, as Mark and John will give you everything you need to know about that. Before we head out, Matt, do you have any final notes?
Looking for the Bulls to continue the overall complete game that they finished this past weekend. I think every facet of the game is starting to come around, and I think there's a lot of opportunity to continue that this upcoming week.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, it has been a blast, Bulls fans, this week, as it always is. And for Matt and myself, we just want to thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for supporting the Bulls. And again, we'll see you at the Red this weekend. And we'll catch us on ESPN Plus for this weekend series. All right, go Bulls.
Go Bulls.
Ugh. All right, I got rough. I got time crunched and like that tongue tied there at the end. So I had to
Yeah,
kind of
no
take
worries.
over because we hit that 10-minute thing. I was like, crap.
Yeah, no worries. And then at one point my microphone got muted, which I don't know how the hell that happened, but
Yeah,
that's a good
we'll get
save.
that
We'll
edited
have
out.
Mark listen. We'll have Mark listen to it and cut it up and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I was trying to do this like, hey, you're muted, and I was like, oh, whatever. I'll just jump in, and then when he comes back, I'll kick it back over.
yeah. But yeah, so was it the Nelson Alvarez kid that you picked?
Alex Mendez.
Alex Mendez. Interesting. Huh. Because
He's
there's this guy that he ended up becoming a doctor, and
mhm.
a couple of years ago he went viral because he caught a cat at a Miami Dolphins game. I don't know if you ever saw that.
Mm-mm.
Um, but maybe that could be one of our
I was about to say,
next
yeah, send me that, and I'll we'll get that in there.
yeah, that'd be cool.
That'll be fun.
Sweet. All right, buddy. Well, we'll let Mark know to make a few edits, but overall should be good.
Yeah, man. Hey, thanks for following along. I have the agenda ready, everything next week.
No worries. All right, thank you, buddy.
All right, man.
Appreciate it
See
as
ya.
always.
Yep.
All
See ya.
right, bye.